What's up everyone, hope you had a great day. Lethal Content here, back with my second last back to basics guide. This one we're covering the human male adept, or the human adept. Not a lot of people like this class, not a lot of people think he's gold viable, and the main reason's because that his power lines or his skill lines don't actually boost any weapons, and therefore you're relying really on biotic damage and biotic explosions. And if you play Mass Effect Andromeda long enough, you know that the biotic damage and biotic explosions aren't as strong as they were in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. But don't worry guys, there is still another way to play the human male adept, or the human adept really. You play him as a kind of heavy crowd control, heavy CC, heavy stagger kind of character. You play this as a really big support role, and you pretty much are the king of control. You output a lot of pressure on the enemy using your various detonations, combos, and your fast recharging skills such as pull. So I actually chose for skills to actually have 3 points in pull. Now a lot of people will probably criticize me for having 3 points in pull, because this actually takes out your rank 6 in shockwave, which is lifting shockwave. Now you won't go wrong either way, but I prefer having 3 ranks in pull, mainly because this shortens pull's recharge significantly. This also gives a significant duration boost, and I only use shockwave to detonate. So with lifting shockwave, anti-armor is not really useful. So with lifting shockwave, affected enemies are briefly suspended in mid-air, primed for combo detonations. You're using shockwave to mainly detonate your own combo, so you're not really using it for the prime. It's a utility thing, it's an add-on, it's like a cherry on top, so you don't really need it. So the other thing that is the bigger show effect for lifting shockwave are affected enemies are briefly suspended in mid-air. So what I opt for is that if you're going to use this to suspend enemies in mid-air, you'd probably rather use singularity, or if there's like 1 or 2, you'd probably rather use pull, because singularities allow you to detonate the combo and actually apply a AoE stagger from the detonation. With shockwave, if you're using it to lift up enemies and priming them, you're not going to have the shockwave to detonate, so I took out 3 points and put them in pull. This means that you can rapidly pull enemies with your recharge speeds, and this means that instead of lifting them up with shockwave and losing your detonator, you just lift them up with pull and still retain the use of your detonator. That's my reasoning. You can go with either way. This is just what I prefer. With singularity, I have radius over duration, because with radius this allows you to pick up enemies that might be out of your initial singularity radius. This also means that you're more likely to pick up enemies that are walking around corners. This also you're playing a very fast-paced action multiplayer game today, so you don't want the duration, because you probably want to detonate it early. And also with rank 5, I pick recharge over anti-shields, because anti-shields is really low. Right now it's 44. With the extra 100% it'll be 88. That's not really significant enough. You want singularity up as much as possible. This is one of the big. Every class has a skill that defines their class. Singularity is the skill that defines adepts, so you really want singularity up as much as possible, or be able to use it as much as possible. I went with exploding singularity over expanding, because once again this actually allows you to stagger enemies that aren't caught in the singularity. This also allows you to stagger some certain unarmored yellow standard size enemies, along with your offensive biotic expert with the biotic force bonus. So with shockwave, I go with radius over damage and force, because once again you want to catch as many enemies in singularity and shockwave as possible. And damage and force, damage isn't as much of a priority, because once again biotic combos and biotic powers are nerfed a bit. Well, they're not nerfed, they're lower damage compared to Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. So that's why I picked radius. With rank 5, I go with recharge speed over reach. I went for the recharge because this is your only only detonator, so you want to be able to use it as much as possible. You can go with reach. I feel that reach you can just use your corners more better, so it makes up for the reach. That's just what I feel. You can go with reach. There's no downside to going with reach. Like, you can go with either one honestly, but I prefer recharge speed. With offensive biotics, I went with power efficiency because you really want the plus 15% power recharge speeds. This allows you to use your skills more often, and since biotic is really all about using your powers, you really want the recharge speed as much as possible. I went with exposure over combo detonation because combo detonation just gives you more radius detonation and combo damage, but the combo damage is kinda negated because you give them a defense debuff. So if you use singularity, that means I get the debuff, and this will be more likely plus 10% combo damage instead of plus 30 if you pick up exposure. Also, exposure means your enemies will take more damage from your allies and not just you. That's the reason why I picked it. Now for rank 6, I went with Biotic Expert over Biotic Warrior because once again, the plus 50% weapon damage is nice, don't get me wrong, but you don't really want to go up to the enemy and try to melee them and knock them down. If you're going to do that, you're better off pulling them, staying at a safe distance, and playing more safely generally. So I'd rather go with Biotic Force and Biotic Damage. Also, Biotic Force helps Shockwave, Stagger, unarmored, unshielded enemies, and even staggers certain yellow armored standard size enemies. Ooh, that's a word for. Now for barrier, I go with Unyielding Barrier and Biotic Link. I say these two together because they give you a very large significant increase to your shields, and this is one of two ways that you're going to survive in the battlefield. So I really don't recommend going like cross like here, like Unyielding or with Barrier Drain or Recuperative with Biotic Link. I really recommend you either go Recuperative Barrier with Barrier Drain or Unyielding Barrier with Biotic Link, because these work really well together to give you a very large significant boost to your shields. With rank 6, I go with Saving Barrier because this is your get out of jail free card. You will notice a lot of times that sometimes you get hit with a very large instantaneous damage skill that almost kills you or kills you, and this will be what saves you from sync kills like in your face shotgun blast, grenades. This is a lifesaver as opposed to active barrier, which can't save you from those large instantaneous big hits. Now for leveling, I am actually going to recommend a very weird leveling path, and that is to actually get rank 2 of every single one of your skills. This gives you recharge and gives you a more flexible path to use your powers, because this means you have your powers more up as often instead of just maxing one single power. After you get recharges for your skills, I would actually recommend you getting at least rank 4 in barriers. I would actually recommend you get up to rank 5 in barriers. If you're just starting out, this means that in silver you have some kind of way to buff up your shields. After that, I would actually recommend getting rank 4 in power efficiency. This with your rank 2 ranks in every power will mean you have a faster recharge and allows you to use your skills more often. And then I'll go with rank 6 in barrier, and then I'll max out singularity, shockwave, offensive biotics, and then pull. Now for weapons, I am using the Hurricane, and the reason I use Hurricane is because it's one of the highest fire rate weapons in the game. Comboed with Disruptor ammo allows you to set up your own tech stun combos. Now if you don't know what a tech stun combo is, it's basically a tech explosion, but it lays down an electric field on the bottom, and this stuns enemies that walk through. Now that's really nice. It gives you another option or another CC that you have in your arsenal, so it's generally all nice. And you can see I only have a 5% penalty when using a Hurricane 1. Now for the second weapon, I'm using a Scorpion because sometimes you'll find after using the skills you need to hunker down and you really need to stay in cover. Scorpion allows you to deal a significant amount of damage over time and in an AoE without having to peek over the edge or aiming down sights over the edge and exposing yourself. You just fire blindly over the cover that you're playing and you still stay in cover and deal great damage. Also, this kind of pairs well with Singularity. If you pick up enemies and you don't have Shockwave to detonate, you can just lay down Scorpion Fire and this will pretty much hit everything inside your Singularity. So that's another bonus. For consumables, I definitely recommend Disruptor Ammo. I really do. And also, for the second consumable, I really recommend you go with Cyclonic Mod. This obviously helps with the points that you put in barrier, but unyielding barrier and biotic link. This really boosts your shields up immensely, and I feel it really makes a difference in gold. For weapon variants, you could replace the Hurricane with the Charger X, but Hurricane fires a lot faster and has a bit more damage. So for the playstyle, you generally want to stick with your tanks or identify other characters that can set off explosions or prime enemies really quickly. These are like the Asari Adepts, the Vanguards, they're basically the characters that go really up front. If you don't have any of those characters, you're better off sticking halfway between your front line and your back line. Say if you have a couple of soldiers and an infiltrator, you're better off going behind the soldiers and using your main crowd control abilities like Singularity and Shockwave and pull to pick off mooks on the side and help deal with large enemies using your Disruptor Ammo. That's pretty much what I have to say on this class. It's really fun. I think it's one of the most funnest classes you can play with. You set up a lot of CC effects with this. Your starting combo will probably be Singularity, where you pick up a whole bunch of unarmored, unshielded enemies. You detonate it with Shockwave, and then you detonate Singularity. This will almost guaranteed to kill every enemy inside, depending on their health. With things like dogs and single target, unshielded, unarmored enemies, you just want to use pull, and depending on the situation, you'll want to either leave the enemy pulled up or kill it, because once again you really want to stick with your team, because your CC is more beneficial if you use it around your teammates. This means that there'll be less enemies firing on your team as opposed to just firing on yourself. Also means that you'll probably stay alive longer if you guys share in the aggro. Now, I'll leave you with the rest of the footage. I think I've gone on long enough. I hope you had a great day. I hope you enjoyed this guide, and I'll see you guys next time.
More to go. done here. Get yourself to the LZ.